These sessions are based on the book The Messiah Codes Unsealed. Hello, brothers and sisters, and welcome to Temple 2030 Watch. I'm Luis Narciso, author of The Messiah Codes Unsealed, and this is session 60. Each week, we examine world events, not in isolation, but through an interdependent prophetic model, where scripture, history, and geopolitics move together with astonishing precision. When one piece shifts, every other piece shifts with it. Today, we're covering a critical and unusually dense period from December 19, 2025 to January 16, 2026. In just 4 weeks, we've seen the United Nations reaffirming Syria's claim to the Golan again, a US-brokered Israel-Syria security mechanism emerged, the Temple Institute clarified the Red Heifer's timeline, escalating activity on the Temple Mount, Syria descending deeper into chaos, and Iran crossing a nuclear threshold that collapses breakout time to weeks. We'll tie these to our scenarios. Both version A and B include an attack on Israel with a weapon of mass destruction, but version B adds a potential Golan coalition push to take control of the Golan Heights by 2027-2028. And as we place every one of these developments into our Temple 2030 prophetic scenarios, we ask a sobering question. Are we watching the final alignment of the pieces that lead to the dedication of the Third Temple in 2030? Let's examine the data. Let's test the model and let's see what scripture, history, and mathematics together are telling us. Story 1. The UN condemns Israel and renews Golan observer force. The UN has been busy with the Golan Heights. On December 3, 2025, the UN General Assembly voted 123 yes for Syria's claim to the Golan, calling Israel's hold on the territory null and void. Syria's ministry called the favorable UN vote strong support for Syria's plight for the return of the Golan Heights. On December 31, 2025, the Security Council renewed the UN Disengagement Observer Force mandate for 6 months. Those are the UN peacekeepers in the Golan Heights buffer since 1974. In January 16, 2026, the head of UN peacekeeping, Jean-Pierre Lacroix, warned of rising risks to blue helmets from decreased funding and regional politics. He noted that conditions on the ground have changed significantly since Israeli forces established positions inside the area of separation defined by the 1974 disengagement agreement. The buffer zone was established in May 1974 after the Yom Kippur War, with the UN mandate to maintain the ceasefire between Israel and Syria and to supervise the areas of separation as provided in the 1974 agreement. Regarding Israel's incursion into the buffer zone and beyond, Mr. Lacroix said, "What we would want is a return to the situation where the UN forces would be the only military presence in the area of separation." He also described recent talks between Israel and Syria, mediated by the Trump administration, as positive. On the other hand, Israel has many security concerns regarding the inability of the Syrian and UN forces to engage and eliminate extremist groups that ultimately threaten Israel and its civilian population, not only in the Golan Heights, but throughout Israel. No? From its experience and history, Israel will not put its security in the hands of anyone but Israel. Israel and Syria agreed on January 6, 2026 to a US-backed mechanism for intelligence sharing, and de-escalation. The mechanism will also serve as a means of rapid resolving disputes. On this subject, the Times of Israel reported that the talks, according to the statement, centered on respect for Syria's sovereignty and stability, Israel's security and prosperity for both countries, and both Syria and Israel reaffirmed their commitment to strive towards achieving lasting security and stability arrangements for both countries. According to the three countries, Syria, Israel, and the US, the joint statement reflects the spirit of today's great meeting and the sides' determination to turn a new page in their relations for the benefit of future generations. The talks are the third round between the two enemy states held in Paris, but France itself was not set to participate. Both countries expressed a desire to reach security agreement under President Trump's vision for the Middle East, the official said. A Syrian source close to President Ahmed al-Shara's government was quoted by Channel 12 News as saying American pressure has created fertile ground for potential progress towards a security agreement with Israel. This is very interesting. The establishing of a US-backed mechanism for Israel and Syria intelligence sharing and de-escalation that will also serve as means of rapid resolving dispute seems to reduce or even eliminate the probability of a Syrian peaceful, quote-unquote, invasion of the Golan Heights between 2027 and 2028. So, that accord may eliminate the probability of scenario version B and weight the probabilities towards version A, where the explosion that will serve as a catalyst for the construction of a third temple somewhere in the Temple Mount does not include a parallel peaceful, quote-unquote, invasion of the Golan Heights. Or would it? If Syria is serious in its intent to get back at least the oil in the Golan Heights, it could ask for the southern region of the Golan where oil has been discovered, and leave the central and north regions to Israel, including Mount Hermon, which provides crucial surveillance over the region. And it also provides snow that together, when it melts together with other geographical features, feeds the Jordan River with water. If Israel refuses the deal, it could give Syria a stronger position under international law to organize, together with the UN and the signatory countries of the Astana format, a peaceful invasion of the Golan, and more specifically the southern region close to the Sea of Galilee, which is where the scenario analysis proposes the invasion would occur. Let me once more remind my dear viewers that the proposed events, which may create the conditions that will conclude with the construction of the third temple on likely the northeast corner area of the Temple Mount, are my scenarios, not the Bible's. However, using Bible prophetic data, this is not my opinion, but the data analysis, please check sessions 8 through 11. 2030 will be the year of the dedication of the third temple, likely on the third day of the month of Adar, Adar 1, because it's a leap year, in the Hebrew calendar, or February 5 or 6, 2030 in our calendar. Story 2. The Temple Institute clarifies the situation with the Red Heifers and the simulated heifer sacrifice performed on the mountains of Samaria. In an article posted by the Temple's Institute website titled Update and Clarification Regarding the Red Heifer, they explain that for about 10 years, the Temple Institute has been engaged in preparations for producing the ashes of the Red Heifer, both from an educational and practical perspective. About 3 months ago, a practice was held in the Samarian mountains in which a simulation of the making of the ashes of the Red Heifer was conducted. However, ashes of the Red Heifer that are not made in the Mount of Olives while facing the site of the Holy Temple are completely invalid. That's their clarification, right? The purpose of the exercise was to improve our readiness for producing the ashes, and indeed, the exercise improved our understanding of the process. For this reason, the ashes were mostly left by us in place without any care on our part. We did collect samples of the ashes by people who are tamei met, impure due to contact with a corpse, and are therefore rendered ineligible for performing this mitzvah. So, anyone who claims otherwise, that the heifer was kosher and the ashes produced from it are kosher for the purpose of purification, is mistaken and misleading, either intentionally or unintentionally. There are currently 4 Red Heifers at the Shiloh site, some of which are owned by Rabbi Ariel, head of the Temple Institute. Their halachic status has not yet been definitely determined, and we are monitoring them. They close by writing, "The real Red Heifer will be made, God's willing, when we have a kosher Red Heifer, according to the opinion of the rabbis of the Temple Institute and the rabbis that they consult with. And when we are ready in all other aspects of the matter, this is a long process that requires patience and perseverance." Story number 3, Ben-Gvir stormed Al-Aqsa Mosque January 13, 2026. His first in 2026. It's a little explosive title, right? Israeli National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir on Tuesday, January 13, entered East Jerusalem's Al-Aqsa Mosque compound under again heavy police protection. According to Middle East Monitor, since assuming office in early 2023, Ben-Gvir has stormed the Al-Aqsa Mosque around 14 times. Tuesday's incursion marks his first entry into the compound in 2026. The Middle East Monitor continues, "The extremist minister has continued these provocations despite repeated Arab, Islamic, and international condemnations." According to a report by Palestinian Ministry of Endowment and Religious Affairs, illegal Israeli settlers carried out 280 incursions into the Al-Aqsa compound during 2025 alone. It noted that Al-Aqsa incursions were accompanied by the open performance of Talmudic rituals inside the compound, including full prostration, blowing of horns, wearing praying garments, and organized group prayers at specific times and locations in what is described as a clear attempt to impose temporal and spatial division at the mosque. The Middle East Monitor concludes, and this is my opinion, we see that there is an increasing Jewish restless desire to be able to pray and at least practice some Judaic act on the second holiest place in Judaism, only second to the future temple, right? Then. Story 4, Syria's chaos, US strikes ISIS and militias kill minorities. Syria's post-Assad chaos worsened. US launched large-scale strikes on ISIS under Operation Hawkeye. The attacks were tied to ISIS Palmyra attack on December 13, 2025, killing 3 Americans, and on January 5, Sunni militias attacked and killed 3 civilians in the city of Homs. Okay, story 5, Iran regime crumbles, fissile material risk rise. Iran's protests escalated and sparked demonstrations that have evolved into a full rebellion against the Islamic Republic and the mullahs. There are thousands of deaths through those crackdowns. The regime is crumbling, and President Trump imposed punitive tariffs on any country supporting the Iranian regime. On the nuclear front, according to the International Atomic Energy Agency, by November 2025, Iran had about 440 kilograms of 60% enriched uranium. That is enough for 10 to 12 bombs if enriched to 90%. The fissile material was likely hidden before the US strikes on Iran's nuclear facility, and it's considered lost. The Italian Institute for International Political Studies reported on December 24, 2025. Despite repeated accusations from Israel and often from the United States as well, up until the 12-day war, the military confrontation between Israel and Iran in June 2025, Iran's supreme leader Ali Khamenei had always blocked the final decision to move to 90% enrichment and to begin developing miniaturized nuclear warheads, small enough to be deliverable. This was despite pressure from various quarters within the regime, above all the Revolutionary Guards. All the sources consulted by the author's researchers over the years have always denied that any decision had been taken on this matter, and clearly, if Khamenei had this intended to produce atomic bombs when in 1992 Benjamin Netanyahu, then merely an MP, began accusing Iran of pursuing that goal, Iran's bomb would have been with us for several years already. Then the article continues, moving from 60% to 90% enrichment would take only a few weeks, provided that there are enough working advanced model centrifuges, such as the Iran IR-4 and IR-6. So, Iran had hundreds of kilos of 60% enriched uranium for a while. To go from 60% to 90% enrichment, which is weapons grade, takes only weeks. I'm proposing that an Iranian extremist Islamic faction that will escape to Syria in possession of already 90% enriched fissile material if the Islamic Republic falls, and with the necessary know-how, will partner with an extremist Islamic group in Syria to deliver and detonate to Israel the Franken bomb between September 2027 and September 2028. I'm praying that if that scenario is in any way accurate, the device is detonated in an area where it won't affect Israel's population. We know, as per Psalm 121, verse 4, that the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, he who keeps Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps, and will protect Israel. So many pieces are moving at once. The Golan, the Temple Mount, the Red Heifers, Syria's collapse, Iran's fissile material, and the narrowing window of prophetic time. Remember, the scenarios we discuss are not scripture themselves, but they are built from scripture tested by history and constrained by mathematics. The Bible does not speculate, it encodes. And when those encoded timelines begin to lock into current events, the proper response is not fear, but watchfulness, discernment, and prayer. Please subscribe to Temple 2030, this channel, turn on the bell, and review sessions 8 through 11 for the full temple chronology and prophetic calculations. If you want to get deeper into the subject, the Messiah Codes Unsealed is available on Amazon. Stay in the Word, stay prayerful, and until next time, Shalom.